afternoon. My name is Megan Thurmond. I'm doing a project for Brunel University's Critical and Creative Thinking class led by Dr. Bill Haney. I've been tasked to create a project without paper comparing myself to 7 critical thinkers we have learned throughout this class. As you can see, I've created a brain made from cake, where each color of frosting demonstrates a different area of the functionality of the brain. I will demonstrate the similarities and differences of each critical thinker, including myself, throughout the project. Let's take a minute to go through some of the critical thinkers first, so that we have a good background of each one. The first one is Sigmund Freud. He was a good student. He went to the University of Vienna. His family's background was Jewish, which made some of his practices a little bit difficult. He focused on psychology and really the background between child psychology and how they grew up and their relations. He was a very private but driven individual. His relationship with his family was very important to him, but as he got into the more professional world, his colleagues were what really he bounced ideas off of. T.S. Eliot would be the next critical thinker that we've talked about. He also was a good student. He went to Harvard and won the Nobel Prize for Literature. He was the youngest of 6 and was known really as a very friendly individual. And like Freud, his relationships with his colleagues was very important and what influenced him going forward. The third critical thinker that we really discussed was Martha Graham. She was a good student as well as the other 2. She was compared to Picasso and Stravinsky in retrospect for her dance as they were for art and music. Her father really was her inspiration, and how he was a doctor and how he looked at the body and things like that. She took that and modernized it into her dance. She went to the school of dance after her father died, but because she was a Presbyterian, her parents would not allow her to do that originally. The next critical thinker that we discussed was Pablo Picasso. This is where we start getting to the critical thinkers that weren't as good of students. He quit very early on, saying that school was very boring. The only thing that really interested him was art. However, his relationships were a little bit different. He was very much of a womanizer. He had a lot of mistresses and different relationships outside of his marriage that were really his muse for his art. He was very pro with his colleagues, but overall he was a very depressed individual and needed these additional inspirations to help him keep going. The next critical thinker is Gandhi. As most of us know, Gandhi was very simplistic and optimistic. He was very quiet, but he was just well known for keeping the peace. He was also not a great student. He was married. He had an arranged marriage at a very young age, and through that marriage he had 4 kids. But because of his tasks with Africa, he didn't have a really close relationship with them. The next critical thinker is Albert Einstein. He typically had a small group of friends. He was also known for being very quiet. He also won a Nobel Prize for physics, but during his divorce from his first wife, she was guaranteed part of the prize winnings for that. For the most part, he was a loner, but he grew up in Germany and was a very poor student. And finally, we did Igor Stravinsky. Stravinsky was also not a good student. He was from Russia. Additionally, he was very much of a loner, but he really took the musical world to a whole different level. He studied with a lot of colleagues in the area that really helped take his inspiration for music and just really create some amazing pieces of work. So, through all of those, we're going to take and look at the brain and how each of these critical thinkers really, what areas of the brain that they were most predominant in. As you can see, this orange part of the brain is going to be the frontal lobe. In that area of the brain is really where your behavior, your intelligence, your memory, and your movement take place. It's also where your creative thinking part takes place. So as you can imagine, with a critical and creative thinking class, this is where really all of them go in some form or another. So we've got Martha Graham. We're going to put her here. Stravinsky. T.S. Eliot. Picasso. Gandhi. Sigmund Freud, and Einstein. So, as you can tell, for the critical thinkers like Martha Graham, movement was a very important area of the brain that she would need in order to really design the creative moves that she did. Moving on to the temporal lobe, which is going to be this brownish area here. That area is where your behavior, your hearing, your memory, speech, and vision are going to take place. So T.S. Eliot really used this area as far as putting his works together. He also did a lot of speeches during his time. Stravinsky used this area as far as hearing to really develop his music to a whole new level. Gandhi focused a lot on behavior. So he was a very big pacifist, and this is where the area of the brain where he would really pull that information from. Picasso we associate a lot with vision, but as you can tell, his behavior was less than desirable with all of the women that he slept with, so we're going to put that in there under behavior as well. And Sigmund Freud studied a lot about behavior, so he really could pull that information from this part of the brain and focus on it. Then we're going to do the parietal lobe. This is where you have your intelligence, your language, your reading, and sensation. Obviously, Albert Einstein is going to fit into that. He was a brilliant man. Just where he focused all his energy was through his intelligence. T.S. Eliot obviously is going to fit here through his language and reading abilities. Sigmund Freud, again, intelligence, language, sensations, all the things that he really pulled his studies off of. And then Gandhi, you've got your sensations and really kind of what he pushed as far as being a pacifist and pulling information for other people that way. Then you've got your occipital lobe. We're really just going to put Picasso here because most of his stuff was visual. You could also think to put Martha Graham there with the way she demonstrated her modern dance. And finally, we're going to do the cerebellum. This is where your balance and your coordination is concerned. Stravinsky is going to go here through with his music and how he produced all of that. Gandhi is going to go, Martha Graham, sorry, is going to go here. Obviously, her coordination is going to be a real big thing with her dance. And then Picasso, he needed a lot of coordination in order to draw his art. So how I'm similar and dissimilar to each of these areas of the brain and each of these individuals can be determined in several different ways. Obviously in the frontal lobe, behavior and intelligence, I feel like I'm very strong in that as far as going to school and getting my master's and really learning to take my thought process to a whole different level. The temporal lobe, where you've got your behavioral and your hearing and your memory, probably could do a little bit better in memory, but we obviously all touch this in some form. The parietal lobe, again, you've got intelligence here. I would strongly fit into that. As far as mathematics also fits in this area. I was very strong in high school, going all the way through calculus and things like that. So math really works well for me, so I would fit in that area for the most part. And then cerebellum, I'm not very balanced or coordinated whatsoever, so I probably could learn a few things from these guys. But thank you for your time, and I hope you enjoyed my project.